We've been discussing Hillary Clinton's email server, and here's a little bit more of what she had to say about it over the weekend.
Sanders said that, quote, the American people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails. But there are a lot of people who are not.
Well.
Including FBI officials looking into whether national security was compromised because of this server.
At the time, there was nothing marked classified, and that is the fact that hasn't changed ever since.
And you said it was allowed, too.
Yes, it was.
Who allowed it?
It was allowed under the rules of the State Department, and again.
So nobody signed off on it.
No, it was allowed. One of my predecessors did the same thing. Others in our government have done the same thing at very high levels, because the rules did change after I left the State Department. But at the time and in prior years, the rules allowed it.
Who had a server in their basement?
First
oh my God!
That's just not.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
Who had a server in their basement?
No, the two things she said just were not true. And this is one of the remarkable things.
Who had a server in their basement?
Bob, this is one of the more remarkable things about Hillary Clinton. She says things
that are not true
on television that she knows are not true, that her staff knows is not true, that the press knows is not true, that people following the story knows it's not true, and like, for instance, that other people did it. Colin Powell didn't have a private server that he ran all State Department and classified business through at his home in McLean.
Well, that's true. There's many unanswered questions on this, but you've got to look at her response. Laughter is not the best response. I think that
I thought it was the best medicine.
No, not when you're talking about a serious FBI investigation.
You get an FBI investigation going on. She's laughing at this.
She says it's permitted. You know, when she was Secretary of State, she could tell her driver, go 150 miles an hour, and in a sense, that's permitted because she could say it. That doesn't mean you should go 150 miles an hour. And there's a problem in all of this, and we talked before, and I likened some of this to the Nixon tapes, and I think that's valid and becoming more and more valid. It's the volume. We're talking about 60,000 emails. I mean, let's take any of our emails and look at all of them. And there is always, we remember the smart things we said, we may have said, and we forget the dumb things, but tell me who has not said something dumb or inappropriate on an email.
But also, she says something that is just, it's just so misleading, and it's so wrong that I know you, of course, as much as anybody would know it. When she talks about, and I can't believe they're still saying this, after the intelligence community has knocked this down, she said, well, nothing was marked classified at the time. That is the most ridiculous and justification.
It really is.
It really is, because what happened when the FBI found out what went through her server and the CIA found out in the State Department, they immediately said, oh my God, we have to mark this classified, and they backdated it to the moment she typed some of these statements down, because if she's generating a document at that moment that has classified information in it and she sends it, of course it's not going to be stamped classified. If Sidney Blumenthal reveals the source, I think it was him, or if somebody reveals the source of a human intelligence agent on the ground in a war zone in Libya, and it's not marked classified, that doesn't somehow make it right that it passes through her server and then it gets passed on somewhere else.
More significantly, when she talks, you don't say top secret and then talk, and she has to know and make the judgment. And I think, in fairness to her, you've got to go through and say, how classified were these things? Were there serious violations? Did information get out that shouldn't get out? And but it's what you say that's more important than what's in these documents going back and forth. So we are going to see on this. Now, she is blessed with her investigators, because we now have a really fractured bipartisan investigation, non-bipartisan.
But not so with the FBI. And I wanted to ask you,
sure.
the FBI investigators very angry by Barack Obama, sort of in a Nixonian move, I think it's safe to say. Barack Obama saying, oh, you know what? They may be investigating that, but I've already reached my conclusion. There was no problem there.
Yeah, and you know, if you know FBI, they are not going to be hampered. They are going to make sure that they turn over every rock and look at everything. The problem is this may take a long time.
Were you surprised?